All right, y'all, I'm excited to be able to start off the new year with this conversation. I sat down with Shayla Nash. She is an entrepreneur. She is a makeup artist. She's a beauty educator. She is a nominee, like all these different things. Listen, this conversation was cool, and I'm excited for you guys to be able to kind of hear about how she went from corporate America to owning her own business, and you do not want to miss this conversation. But before we jump into that, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share it if it is meaningful to you and you believe that you can connect with it, or there's somebody else that may connect with it. So go ahead and share that. Let's start off the new year like that. Let's go. Hey y'all, so I'm super excited about this conversation. I say this every single time, and that's because I have hand selected people, different entrepreneurs to actually sit down and talk to, and I'm not just randomly picking people just because they happen to be an entrepreneur. But with that being said, man, it's super important to like find people that you really, really connect well with, because there's just such a, I guess, a longevity of just connection and relationship that you have with those people. And seriously, you never know like who you may end up getting a chance to get that bigger opportunity from. And this lady right here, we have had exactly that, to where there's been situations where I'm like, oh man, we met a while ago, and then like if there was something needed, she hit me up, things like that. And so with that being said, I'm excited to introduce you guys to Shayla. What's going on?
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Okay. So what's up? How have you been lately?
I've been great. I've been
Yeah.
keeping myself busy,
Yeah.
which, as an entrepreneur is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Can be overwhelming at times, but yeah, I've been keeping busy and I can't complain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let us know how you got started and just the background on that.
So I started in makeup, probably about a decade ago.
Mm.
YouTube,
Yeah.
YouTube University.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I learned. I started on myself, doing my own makeup, and it kind of evolved from there.
Yeah.
So doing myself, doing friends, working for makeup lines, doing fashion. It just evolved and kind of snowballed into my career eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when you first got started with makeup, like, did you like that initial YouTube thing? Was it initially just for fun, or just kind of like
It
something I'm
was.
doing?
So I grew up somewhat tomboyish.
Mm.
So I was in my mid-20s and like had no idea how to do my own makeup. My mom doesn't wear makeup. Like, nope, there was nobody to teach me.
Yeah.
So I learned on myself, just wanting to be like more feminine. I'm like, I just feel like in my mid-20s, this is something I should know how to do. So that's how it started. It
Wow.
started just me wanting to present myself better and not knowing which direction to go. And then it just took off. It was like almost like therapeutic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but why a business? Like, how did you go from, now obviously, like I know a lot of people that end up, working in a place and things like that, but why on your own?
It it took on a life form of its own and evolved into that because I never saw that being something that I would do for a career when I started initially. It kind of just pulled me in because now people are offering me money to do this for them.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting at a desk job doing sales. And, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, I'm on the 18th floor looking out the window. Like, there's a whole world out there. Like, and people are calling me like, hey, I have this coming up. I have this coming up. And I'm like, I can't do it. I'm working. And I started turning down those opportunities. And I'm like, wait a minute. What am I doing? Like,
Yes.
if I can make this company this much money doing sales, what if I just apply the same skill set, the same mentality to myself, same amount of hours? Like, let's see what kind of outcome I could produce. And that's how it started.
Yeah. So, man, that's so good, because I'm thinking about how, you always hear about, which being an entrepreneur, yes, there's a ton of work in it. You wearing a whole lot of hats. But I almost feel like there's a misconception in the amount of time you just have to put in. So, like you just said something to me, and this is actually, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, of how you said working the same amount of hours. So it's just like, that's the same idea, like that everybody as an entrepreneur, you can start out thinking. It's like, hey, you know, I'm spending 8 to 10 hours working at this place. And it's like, what if I was to apply that towards something that I'm just really, really passionate about, or something that I'm really trying to do, or a problem I'm trying to solve? And just think about what the results of that would be, you know? And so with that, so how do you, I guess, like, you know, when you was first starting, did you like, so you was working the office job, did you completely cold turkey leave there, or how did that start to work? How did you start the, you know?
Yes, I did. I did quit cold
Okay.
turkey.
Yeah.
I had hit my quota. I remember it was October 31st. I hit my quota for the month, hit all my numbers, all my metrics. And I just realized, like, one day I just sat in the parking garage in the parking lot, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just can't do it. Like, I
Wow.
mean, it had been
Wow.
weeks of me, like, sitting in the parking garage, like, I don't want to go in here.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do this anymore. So one day, yeah, I don't recommend anyone else do this. But one day I was just like, I can't anymore. So I just went in and quietly kind of snuck into my cubicle and just started, like, boxing my stuff up. So, like, I don't recommend anyone do that.
I was thinking you was gonna say you went in and put in your 2 week notice. You said this is
I put in my
it.
right now notice.
Yeah.
I did. I was just,
Yeah.
it was really wearing on me emotionally, like, a lot.
Wow.
It wasn't an ideal job in the first place. And the workplace environment wasn't that great either. So that made the decision a little bit easier, but still, I don't recommend anyone do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went in, I'm just like, I'm working a lot of hours here. It's a sales job, so they're teaching you sales psychology. Like, literally, they're teaching you everything you need to apply to being an entrepreneur. I'm like, I'm going to take all this stuff, all these books they have me read, I'm going to take that and I'm going to apply it to myself. And let's just see what happens. And I have not looked back since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because I, of course, know some of that story because I actually met you before you were full in.
time.
And I remember just the conversations because, you know, I kind of edged my way out of it. But it was, you know, very simple. I'm like, man, I gotta, by this date, you know, I'm giving myself this specific date. If I'm not, you know, I have to do it.
Yeah.
And, but just thinking about that. So did you have any entrepreneurial, like, stuff happen prior to that when you were younger, or like sell lemonade or what?
I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. So, like, in high school, I would braid hair. Like, that was my thing. So, like, and then back in my era, that was like the Allen Iverson era when everybody wanted, like, the designs in their hair. It was just, it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
It worked. So, like, I would be in school, like, we would have, like, a study hall that we probably should have been studying, but people would come by the class and get their hair braided, or, like, after school, I would set my bedroom up and that would be, like, the beauty shop.
So you was braiding school?
I was braiding hair in school, man. Listen, just
She was
listen to the
braiding
journey.
hair.
Don't do as I do. Do as I say.
My goodness. So, did you actually finish any of that braiding, like, while you were in class?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That
Or
is
I played
wild.
sports, so, like, after school, like, we would have gap time between, like, when school let out and game time.
Yeah.
So, like, I could fit somebody in right there.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so that explains it then.
Yeah.
So, because the question I've been asking people is, are entrepreneurs made or are they born?
I personally think they're born.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you can't develop yourself. You know, I believe in, like, a growth mentality. Like, you can grow into something that you aspire to be, but I definitely think I was born that way. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now tell me a little bit about, so you started doing your own makeup from YouTube University. And then from there, how did you get your first client?
My first paying clients came just from working for brands. So, working at beauty counters and things like that, people would come in and they would want to try on product. And so it was our job to demo the product for them, show them how to use it. And then if they liked what I did, and oftentimes they did, then they'd be like, hey, I have a wedding coming up, or I have an event coming up. Like, can I come here and get my makeup done? Or can you come to me and that's where it started.
That's kind of a hack then, to
It's,
some degree,
it
like
is.
within that industry.
It is, absolutely. And I think that's
Huh.
how a lot of makeup artists get their start,
Yeah.
is being at a counter, people coming in to see you and then just loving you. And those people follow you like wherever you go, because there are still people from my first counter job that I still interact with.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
So,
super cool.
yeah.
Okay, so you get your first client, and then from there, what's I mean, how do you start to build that? Like, what's some of that look like?
Word of mouth has been amazing for me. So, you start at the counter. Like I said, those people will follow you. They go places and people see them, and then they want to know who did it. And then not only that, but because I knew like that I wanted to in some way, shape, or form scale, I would also put myself in environments. So how we met,
Yeah.
shoots,
Yeah.
things like that, fashion,
Yeah.
maybe not things that paid great initially, but that would get me in front of people so that they could see my personality, they could see my work.
Yeah.
I could work in a capacity that's a little bit different. Like I've had things from my portfolio. So if I wanted to go, work for someone else, I had tangible things to show them that I had done. So it evolves.
TFP works.
TFP works, but
If
yes, you have to be intentional about the type of trading that you're doing. You want to make sure that the trades match each other.
Okay.
Like you don't want to be a really great makeup artist working with a photographer whose photography skills or editing skills are like they're amateur. You
bad.
You want
So
it
you
to
could say it clear.
okay, yeah. You don't
they're
want to
not
do
bad.
that.
Yeah.
You want it to be an equal trade. So I would trade with photographers whose work or body of work already looked like where I was trying to go.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that
with
makes
models
sense. Yeah.
who would make the work look flattering.
Yeah.
Trade does work, but you have to be intentional about it. It can't just be anybody who's looking for a trade.
Yeah.
And sometimes people aren't looking for a trade; they're really just looking for free services. So like you have to be able to be a little bit discerning about who.
So how do you? This is a good question, then. How do you know when to shut the faucet off, the trade faucet off? And I'm asking these questions because I think from, like, obviously, same. That's why I'm asking, because I've been through the same process.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, like, how do you know when to be like, nope, no more of this? You know what I mean?
That's an internal thing.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if I'm being real with you, if even now, if the work matches what I'm trying
Makes
to do,
sense.
I still
Yeah.
am willing to trade. So I don't think there's ever a time where you turn it off. I think you just have to, it just has to make sense. Like, of course, I'm not going to trade with somebody like on a Saturday, like in high season, like because that would interfere with me, making the money that's already there. But yeah, if it's a great photographer, great model, great concept, it's something that's original, and we're doing it like on a Wednesday night when I don't have anything else going, I'm trading. Like,
Yeah.
let's do
That's
it.
good.
Like,
That's good.
we're all
That's
going to get
good.
something out of it.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's good.
Yeah.
So and I asked that because that's where I'm at. So like, as being into video and photo and stuff, if you're not careful, you run into the situation where you kind of get like you start to shoot stuff that, like you just said, it doesn't make sense. It's just like, just stuff. And I say that based off of knowing when you are prepared to actually do that type of work. So for instance, case in point, I wouldn't do any trades for newborn photography.
Right. Right.
Because I don't have any plan on
and that's
doing
not the
any
direction you're
newborn,
going. Exactly.
And so, and I think that's important because now I will say though, early on, I shot everything. Like I'm shooting everything. I don't care what
Yeah.
well, as long as it was, it wasn't nothing crazy.
Right.
But I'm shooting everything. And so, but with that, how did you, like, as far as, your people that you met at the desk, is that what you call it, the counter? How did you start to get to where you started? And I don't need to know how much, but how did you know how to charge them? You know what I mean?
I didn't.
Based on, yeah.
I didn't. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to charge. When I first started out, I was charging like $35 a face. Because in my mind, like the math was like, well, it takes me an hour to do a face. $35 an hour seems like a cool job at this time. Like that, if a job paid me $35 an hour, like I'd be elated. But that really wasn't the proper math. Like that didn't include. I mean, after a client, you still have to clean up after them. You know, you have to repurchase product. Like the math wasn't. It wasn't
math. Wasn't math.
It was not mathing. Yeah. So identifying a price point, like. I think that's most entrepreneurs' like biggest challenge. It's like, what is that sweet spot?
Yeah.
Like, what do I charge for the body of work that I have, the quality of my products, my skill level, my overhead? I still find that to be
it's a challenge.
A challenging subject. You don't want to overcharge because you don't want to price yourself outside of your market.
Yeah.
But you don't want to undercharge because like it's hard out here.
So this would lead to another question off that. I hadn't even asked this.
Okay.
So from that, how do you get, and because to me, I almost think of it like once you undercharge, it's almost like you put yourself in the corner of the ring. How do you get yourself out of the corner of the ring? You know what I mean? To where it's like, oh, we know her for the $35 face.
Right. Mine was just a constant. I slowly increased my rates. So it would be 5 here, 10 there. As the body of my work is like presenting itself as consistent, as quality, as, you know, the type of people who are reaching out to me is elevating. Yeah. The price is elevating too, because it makes sense. Like you see what I'm putting out. Like it makes sense for the price to go up. So I didn't, and also I was very conscious of like who my dream client was. Like what do they do? What do they look like? Like what kind of, where are they going with this makeup? Like, okay, so that is worth something. Like, you know, and that kind of helped me too. So the price kind of just inched up. Like I work on a really cool project that everybody would be excited about. Price goes up just a little bit. You know, nothing significant. I'm not going to go from like 35 to like 105, but over time it's just kind of inched up there. So
you just said something super important to me. Dream client. And because I'm thinking about how if you weren't careful, then you actually miss out on them based on not even necessarily, I ain't even gonna say quality, but even price point. Yeah. Like there's situations to where you undercharge or underbid, and it ain't even that they don't think you're good. It's just that they don't feel like they can trust you enough.
Yeah.
And so they're like,
because you don't believe in yourself enough. Like
they charging that.
You're not charging enough. Like, and then you know your dream client, depending on who your dream client is, they want exclusivity. They don't want something that's accessible to everyone. They'll pay a little bit more for quality, for knowing that you're going to be available when they need you. Like,
that's good. Yeah. Okay, so all right. So what is the ideal situation? And we know with the entrepreneurship, like, I mean, things ebb and flow. 2020 hit us, like, all these different things. But in an ideal situation, what does that look like for you and your business, just going forward from, 5 years from now or something like that?
You asking me like what direction?
Yeah, just kind of like, what do you want to, how do you see yourself scaling, like things like that?
Yeah, ideally, I would honestly like to be a coach, consultant. I really liked sales, and I really enjoy that, and I enjoy the psychology of it. So I'd like to be like a coach, a consultant, maybe even like agency for other artists. So those artists who want to do the things that I've done, or don't know maybe where to find the jobs or who to talk to, or even how to appear with etiquette on set. Like I would like to be a coach or a mentor for them, help them book the jobs. I don't necessarily want to show up and do the jobs as much anymore. I was just like
every entrepreneur.
Yeah, like there comes a time when it's like, okay, it's time for me to like pass the torch. Like, and I see that season coming for me very soon. Like I would much rather mentor and help somebody do bigger things than I'm doing. You know, like there are so many people out with potential who just don't know what's next or how to get there. I would love to be a mentor, a
Yeah.
coach to those people.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the exciting part, which is all exciting. But what is like, what has been the most, say the biggest or the most fun project you got a chance to work on, where you're like, man, I just can't believe that I'm here. And it don't have to, yeah, just whatever.
You saying you don't want me to like name drop?
No, you can name drop.
Okay.
Yeah, come
The
on.
biggest. Okay, the biggest is definitely the ASAP Rocky Apple Beats ad. Like that did it for me. One, he was cool. I got
Yeah.
to be like his sidekick for a few days. He's so cool.
Wow.
Like, so, and walking in, I didn't know that's what I was doing. They just booked me like, hey, we have a commercial coming up. Are you available? We need you this time.
So what do you mean by that? Where were
They
you
just hit me up like, come work the commercial. That's how commercials go. It's
at?
a commercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need natural looks.
Wow.
And it's on this day. Are you available? So I'm walking in like, okay, it's a commercial. Like,
Yeah.
it could be dog food. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't even know who it was. Whoa.
Nope. I got there. They're like taping our phones up for security so we don't take any pictures. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
ASAP Rocky.
And so it's just a fun
Yeah,
experience.
it was
That's
a
cool.
fun experience. It was a unique experience because who knew that they were shooting stuff? Why
Yeah.
would ASAP Rocky
Yeah.
shoot an
Well,
Apple commercial
Why
here?
was it here?
Like, why?
Did you know that?
I asked
Or
him,
did you find out?
and he said it's unique. No one else is doing it. So
What you mean no one else is doing
nobody else is shooting here, I guess is what he was saying. I mean, people are shooting here, but they don't
Yeah.
know that
Right,
a lot of
like
this stuff
that.
is being shot here.
That's wild.
So yeah, he had the West Bottoms set it up like a city and just ran with it. And like just seeing that ad come down like my TikTok timeline or
Yeah.
on Facebook. I don't watch TV, so like I
Yeah.
haven't seen it on TV, but it's like,
Yeah.
wow, I worked on that. Like
Wow. Yeah.
I remember that scene.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So,
So
that's
cool.
that's one of the biggest. Another one is of course our hometown hero Tech Nine. I worked on his music video. One of my favorites. I worked on several videos with him, but one of my favorites was the Face Off video with
Okay.
The Rock.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I did like his face painting.
Yeah.
So that one was huge
So
for me.
cool.
Like, but I worked on several of his projects too. So those are probably the two standout, like super cool projects that I worked on that I'm super
Yeah.
proud of.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So did they shoot The Rock's part in LA?
They shot his part in LA.
Yeah.
So I did the Kansas City version where we got his scenes done. I was only on the project for him. So
Okay,
just his
that's
face
dope.
paint. Yeah,
That's
it was
cool.
and it was something
Wow.
unique for me because I
Yeah.
mean face paint I do it, but like I didn't know that was
Dang.
my thing. But it turned out really great. He was even impressed. So
Super cool.
so yeah, that was cool.
All right. So, man, that's fun.
Yeah.
So, as far as like, I guess, you've done that one. What would be a dream project or like, man, it'd be super cool to, because how long was the ASAP Rocky? 3 days?
So I got brought on initially for the commercial, which was just one day.
Okay.
And then he liked me after the commercial, so he brought me in for 3 more days for the music video, which was a completely separate
Okay,
production.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I ended up spending 4 days with him.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a cool experience. My dream job from here, I actually met his hairstylist, and so she's everywhere, you see her just everywhere. I just saw her at like Fashion Week or something.
Yeah.
She's Paris and all that. She kind of just created like a new dream for me. Like she's doing these fashion shows and things with like these huge like makeup lines. I'm like, I kind of want to get on one of those teams.
cool.
Like I just want
Yeah.
to do one. Maybe
Yeah.
well, for starters, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, something like that, like a Milan or a Paris
Wow.
Fashion Week
Yeah.
type situation where I'm on a really good team
Yeah.
for a really good designer.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And I have several magazine covers, but I want like a national magazine cover, like
Yeah,
a
come
Vogue,
on now.
like
Yeah.
just something big.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I loved that conversation. I hope you guys loved that conversation as well. If you did, remember to like, share, and subscribe that. And do not miss the other conversations that I have coming up with other entrepreneurs. And I can't wait to be able to share those with y'all. You have a good day.